How to change the front woofer and tweeter on a 2008 Scion XB. First, there's 2 Phillips screws we want to remove. And we want to get the window switch out. Use a plastic trim tool so you don't scrape the surface. There's just a clip on each side. There we go. Then here on the bottom, there's a single wiring harness. You just push in on this clip and wiggle that out. So here on the clip, once you push in, this locking mechanism slides back. Then you can unplug it. On the door handle, pop out this trim. As you can see, there's just 3 clips around. There's the part number if you need it. Then go ahead and remove the Phillips screw behind here. Here on the tweeter, use your plastic trim tool. There's only 1 clip. Just pull forward. There's the rivet holding it in. Here, I like to start on the bottom of the door. There's an area you can put your hand and you just gotta pull forward, then work around the trim to undo all the rivets. Here on the back, this whole handle mechanism pops out. As you can see here, there's just a tab on the top and bottom. That slides out of the door card. Then remove your 2 Phillips screws. Then you want to peel off this door liner without ripping it. You will be reusing it. You can also unplug your tweeter if you have one. Just push in on the tab. Wiggle that 4-pin plug out. Here on your speaker, you can unplug it. There's just a little tab. Now the door's exposed, let's go ahead and drill out our existing bracket. And as you can see, the reason this speaker sounds so bad is it's basically blown out. The whole rubber ring is missing. That's why I'm replacing it. Once all 3 of those are drilled out, this will just fall off. This is all garbage. If you want to replace it with OEM speakers, here's your part number. It's a Pioneer. And here on the holes, looks like one of the rivets stayed, so we need to drill that out a little more. And then a lot of them fell back in here, so you want to vacuum so that you don't have a bunch of crumbs or metal bits rattling around in there making or distorting your music. Next, we're going to apply sound dampening material. This is the one I have. I just have a few extra sheets. So go ahead and just place them on the big open areas of the door. So like maybe up here, it just helps dampen the outside sound as well as absorb vibrations. A lot of people will just take a metal speaker bracket and drill it right into the metal door frame. And when there's that mid bass, it just rattles the whole door. And in my opinion, it sounds terrible. So go ahead and apply as much of this as you'd like. Then you want to get some sort of rolling pin and roll it on there. Then in here, you want to go ahead and clean the surface so that stuff will stick better. You could use anything, just make sure it's completely dry. And a lot of people mount their bracket directly to the metal, but in my case, I'm going to be putting a layer of this over it just to try to absorb and dampen some of those vibrations and noise. Okay, we got that last rivet out. Let's go ahead and apply our sheet. Don't forget where your holes are. Then you don't want to cover your rivets where the door clips on. Okay, that's all rolled on there. Just poke a little hole in the middle and cut this up. Then I like to fold these up in. Okay, as you can see, I've got that all wrapped up. These 2 large holes you can cover up if you'd like. It will help with the mid bass a whole bunch, turning the whole door kind of into a box. Another thing to know on other vehicles, these ones are shielded on the Scion, but other vehicles, one time I put this deadening mat over the materials and it was a wire for the door handle, and the door didn't open very well anymore after that. And so you don't want to be covering it if they're not shielded or if there's moving parts or mechanisms. Also note, if a mechanic ever comes in here, he will have to cut away some of the material. Next, I've got these foam rings. Let's go ahead and use the inner 2. We're going to put that directly behind the speaker. As you can see, there's just some 3M tape. Let's peel that off and stick that back there. Okay, then let's take this outer one and let's tuck it on the inside. Okay, then take your speaker adapter. There's many different kits you can buy. And in my case, I'm running 6 3/4 inch speakers instead of 6.5. So I have to modify the bracket just a hair. The speaker almost fits, but I have to remove all of these tabs so that it sits flush in here. Along with these 2. We're going to be using these to mount it up. So as you can see, I've trimmed all those off and sanded it up a little bit. As you can see, there's 3 locations, so you just take a nut and a bolt and mount it to the 3 existing holes. Okay, as you can see, we've got that all mounted up. We had 3 bolts with some washers and some locking nuts there on the back, so that's pretty sturdy, and it should seal up nicely and absorb a lot of the vibration. So a lot of kits just come with the thing that you plug in here, then connect the 2 leads to your speaker. I tried that yesterday and it didn't work. What I mean by that is my kit came with speakers and tweeters, and the tweeters wire up to the speaker input. So basically I plugged these into the speaker and wasn't getting any audio. It turns out that that's not really the correct harness essentially, because the electricity first comes into the tweeter. The tweeter has to be plugged in to go into the tweeter circuit and back down this line and then power the woofer. And so this is the tweeter for the incoming positive and negative is wired in series with the woofer. So I know that's kind of confusing, but I'll show you how to fix it. So this portion here, first you want to go ahead and just cut the shielding off, assuming that you're replacing your tweeter with an aftermarket one as well. So far I've cut no wires. As you can see, this is on the end. I realized that broke in the process. But as you can see, this is on the end. And if you follow it, goes all the way up to here. So since I'm using a woofer and my tweeter wires to my woofer, I'm gonna cut the harness here, because this is the part that goes into the tweeter. Now I'm gonna feed that signal into my woofer. Okay, as you can see, I've got those. I used a wire stripper and just twisted the threads together. You could solder wires or electrical tape or wing nut, or really any method that you prefer. And this is the kit I decided to go with. It's the Memphis Audio PRX60C. As you can see, the tweeters, sometimes they wire to the woofers, but in this case, the tweeters wire to this, the woofers wire to this crossover, and then you just put the input signal to the crossover. The pink is positive, the violet is negative. I have it on IN, which is for the input, and we're gonna wire our woofer to LF and our tweeter to the HF. As you can see, each one just has a positive and negative. This speaker has an external crossover, but if it didn't, then you could just take these 2 lines that I have plugged into here and plug them directly into your speaker instead of this external crossover. As you can see, here's our 6.5 inch woofer speaker, or sorry, 6 3/4. Then we just connected the red to the positive, the black and red to the negative. If we follow the end of those wires, and on the other end of that line we have our red and our black. So let's feed the LF positive to the red and the LF negative to the black. Also make sure to wire your wires through the bracket, that way they're not in front of the speaker. Okay, we've got our woofer wired in there. Let's go ahead and do our tweeter next into the high filter. Red for positive, black for negative. As you can see, we got our tweeter wired to the high filter, red for positive, black and red, or black with red stripe for negative. And we can snap this cover on. Then here on our tweeter cover, we have to make some custom modifications. So first you can pull the OEM tweeter out. There's 3 tabs that you spread apart, all 33 degrees apart. There we got the OEM tweeter out, 3 tabs. Then I like to push this piece out. There we go. And I'm actually gonna sand this to make this hole bigger to get my new tweeter to fit. Now what I've done is sand that hole out. I know it looks terrible, but this just presses firmly into place. The tweeter attaches to that ring now. Let's take over this speaker foam that I have. What I've done is I've cut it in half so it's not as thick. If it's too thick, the door panel will stick out too much. Let's put this between the speaker and the bracket. And this second to largest ring, I forgot to put it on the inside. I'll go ahead and peel off the stick, and we're actually gonna put it on the back, kind of surrounding the speaker. So we're gonna wrap this around. It is a little small, so that's why I've cut it. That way the sound doesn't escape into the door panel, but it'll help direct it forward. Okay, and as you can see, I've lined that on the inner wall to help guide the sound. Let's go ahead and reattach our foam gasket and our speaker. Now you can see I'm just screwing these in. I've got about 4 or 5 screws in there. Do not use a drill, just hand tight, and to the point it squishes the foam. One tip to help you is to pre-punch holes in the foam That way, as you're twisting a screw into the foam, it doesn't bunch up on you and create an air gap. So let's get this secured down. Then you want to go ahead and test it. As you can see, there's audio coming from here as well as the tweeter. So let's go ahead and get this back together. Our speaker is now situated. We're going to throw this foam gasket on. As you can see, that's too thick where the door panel won't go. So we need to take a razor or some scissors and trim it in half. Okay, as you can see, we've trimmed that in half. Let's go ahead and stick this on there. Do not let it touch the rubber cone. That'll kill your sound. As you can see, this is all a moving part. Perfect. And as you can see, the wires are just in here. So pull out the slack so they don't rattle against the cone. You can kind of stick them to this extra adhesive. One thing to be aware of as well, you could take some sort of dampening material or cloth. Wires can vibrate inside the door. Not so much these ones, but other ones. So if you have something to wrap around those, that would be good too. And usually external crossovers, if you pop off the cover, as you can see, there's holes so you can externally mount it. I don't see a good spot to mount it, but it's probably going to be kind of under the door switch. That way it's semi-accessible without taking off the door. Go ahead and get this all assembled back together. You should be good to go. Alright, I've got that all on. Potentially you'd want this probably behind this plastic shield that covers all your wiring. So we'll try to stuff that in there and kind of put it back here. And I've just rolled that tar back on. If you have tape, that might be good. Some of the areas rip when it's being pulled off. That's okay. Any extra wire you want to bunch up and try to secure something where it won't be rattling against the door frame. Here on the tweeter speaker, as you can see, that just fastens to the back of there. I'll put that on after the door card. Here on the back of the door card, sometimes the rivets will pop off, so just slide them back into place. And let's re-secure the door card.